Welcome to Oh to Be Touched by Grace with Kathy Comer, a space where faith meets healing. This show is dedicated to honest conversations about Christian mental health, riveting testimonies of resilience, and inspiring chats with up-and-coming authors who are using their voices to bring hope. Here's Kathy.
Welcome to Oh to Be Touched by Grace. I'm your host, Kathy Comer. And today we have the honor and the privilege to have the author of the Jesus Freak series as our guest today. Now, I was impressed, y'all. I want you to understand this. I was impressed by this because it was a way of watching how to walk with God as he takes us out on limbs and teaches us things and protects us and does all kind of miracles. That Jesus Freak series is just so wonderful. But I could go on, and I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce you to Pastor Nicholas Tatum, the author of the Jesus Freak series, and also the host of the, what is it called? Tatum
Christian Variety Show.
Christian Variety
The Tatum
Show.
Christian Variety Show.
It comes on every Saturday at 4 o'clock. And it'll challenge you. You'll find out whether you really know what you think you know. All right? So I'm going to hush now. I'm going to back up and let him tell us a little bit about him, how God started him on this journey, and whatever God puts on his heart, because he is a man of God.
Well, amen. I think that's a little too general for a guy like me. You might have to ask me some questions. I don't know. But I can do a little something. I can tell you something about me if we need to talk about me a little bit. Let us get started. Me. Do I sound good? I sound good. All right. All right. So I like to have fun. And I've always been into comics, cartoons, even to this very day. I still play video games, all of the rest of that kind of stuff like that. But I also have a really good relationship with the Lord, or at least I think it's really good. And I pray that he thinks it's really good too. From everything he's indicated to me, it should be pretty good. However, the whole is all that stuff mixing together becomes a very interesting combination. I need to tell you something else about me too. As I was growing up, I found out that I was dyslexic. We did a whole bunch of dots on papers and some other stuff like that to try to help me get past being dyslexic. But still, to this very day, I cannot stand reading. My sister would always read comic books to me and read books to me and all sorts of things like that. And I was good with that long as somebody else was reading. However, if I had to do the reading, it was pretty much a no-fly zone. Matter of fact, too many words in a row makes me sleepy. I'm just being honest. That's the way it is. Probably going to go to sleep. However, that also translated over to me typing and writing and everything else. So I don't like reading. I don't like writing. I don't like typing, which is weird because you just introduced me as a guy who wrote the Jesus Freak book series. Yeah, that's a God thing. That's a completely God thing. And if there's anything out there that you listeners don't like, just know that's probably what he's going to tell you to do. So I was sitting one time and I was helping my brother come up with a whole comic book world. Me and my brother, we kind of created this whole comic book world. And all of a sudden it popped into my head. How would a man of God with no powers of his own, no unnatural mutations or anything else, exist in this type of a world where all these people have superpowers? And being that I've had a relationship with God so long, I recognize that even without being the strongest or the toughest or the mightiest on the scene, you still have the victory because God is the victory. And that inspired me to write the comics. Well, that and God saying, hey, I need you to write the stories about Jesus Freak. But that made me want to write the story so I could tell about how somebody who's only depending on faith could actually exist in a world where people have superpowers. We're talking about the major comic book era, like Superman and Batman and all these different powers that are out there. And you're talking about just somebody who has faith in God trying to protect justice in those areas. Seems so impossible, but it also seems so God. It's just like God calling me to write a book. Or God calling me to do you know how much typing is involved in writing a book? Do you know how many times you have to read your own book when you write a book? for editing purposes, for quality purposes, to make sure there's consistency. Just so much goes into writing a book that has to do with actual typing and reading. Fortunately, God did make me very astute when it comes to English. So as far as trying to edit it and doing all the rest of that, I can kind of see what's going on. I'm not as good as the one who really edited it, which is my sister, but I can kind of see what's going on, what's wrong, how to write this prepositional phrase, all those different things like that. But wow, it was a lot of work. And I dreaded doing the work, but I tell you what, I loved the project itself. I loved the content. And then when I had to read it again, I felt it all over again. And I was like, wow, this is good. I don't know if you're supposed to say that to something that he has you writing. Like, it seems kind of arrogant to say, God, this is good, but it's really coming from him. So technically, I don't feel like it's arrogant because I wouldn't have been able to write it by myself anyway. It's coming from him. So yeah, it was good. So I read it several times. Go ahead.
I'm going to ask you a question. How long did it take you to write it?
Well, I started in, I want to say, 2001 with the creation of the character and the creation of the concepts. And I didn't get the first book out until 2018, I believe. So that's a good, what, 17 years or so? I told you, I've never typed over 21 words a minute. Never once. So I type slowly.
Okay, so I've read the series, and you know me, I love it. I got a
Yeah.
special part that I love a whole bunch, right? But what I
Hmm.
really want you to do, though, is I want you to kind of take our listeners there so that they can really understand what you mean when you tell them a little more so that they can conceptualize.
Okay, as a concept, you can think about, well, Jesus Freak is a story about faith in action. That's what
That's
it's about. It follows a reluctant hero who discovers that he has, I'm sorry, he discovers that real power does not come from just having like superhuman strength or power to turn invisible or whatever other powers that are out there. It comes from God. That's the only real source of power. When you read the Bible, you'll see that it says that you get position via God. You get prosperity via God. Whatever is given to us, it comes from God. Even Jesus told Pilate, you wouldn't even have this power had not my Father given it to you. So all power really comes from God, and God can handle it. The series uses superhero action and adventure, and it mirrors real life. So we got the superhero action and adventure, which I know that seems like fantasy, but it's truly mirroring real life, and it turns the whole story into like a modern day parable about what we all go through while trying to live by faith. I think that's kind of the best way to describe it. In the interim, there's some comedy inside of it. There's some funny parts that happen. There's lots of emotion that goes on. But it's how do you explain to your wife when you're a 40-year-old man that you're going to go out there and fight crime without a badge? And it's illegal to fight crime without that badge. Like that's not what she got into marriage for. She married you as a stable individual. You had that good Christian moral going for you. You had all kinds of just stuff going for you. You were a legal person. Uh, It's kind of hard. So he has to deal with situations in his real life as well as trying to keep himself following God. Can
Yeah,
you imagine what that would be like for God to tell you at your current state, whatever state you're in, all right, I need you to go out and be a superhero. I want you to go out and patrol the streets and fight crime. Can you imagine that? That that would be one of those calls where people, if they don't contemplate saying no, it's because they've already said no. God, you're gonna have to forgive me about this thing. I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, God, I can get hurt. I haven't fought in I don't know how many years. I'm 40 years old. I'm not a professional fighter. Why would I go out there and fight people who have superpowers as well as just regular criminals? I don't want to fight a robber. I don't want to fight a guy with a gun. But it's God saying, I want you to go out there and take care of this. So that kind of parallels the way you received your calling.
come
I
on.
don't know what your calling was. You could have been called to be a pastor. You could have been called to be a teacher. You could have been called to be an evangelist, a missionary, anything that he has decided to call you to do. You could have been called to be a writer like me. I wasn't ready for that. That wasn't the thing. I have a lot of skills in life that I thought I could use for God. I did not think that he would use me to write a book. And when he said I needed to write it as a book, I was just floored. So when Chad receives his instructions that you need to be a superhero, he has some wrestling to do with his internal self about whether or not he wants to obey God. And even that thing that we all like to use, God, is that really you? He
Yes,
has to wrestle with that. God, is that really you? Or is this me trying to act out some childhood fantasy? That kind of stuff is real. And as he's going through stuff, you'll find out that God does not always deliver in the way that you want him to deliver or show up in the way that you want him to show up, but he always shows up.
that's what I loved so much about it because it was so close to real life. God always was God. He didn't do it the way everybody expected him to do it. He
Yeah,
did it like God does it, right? But now listen, I
absolutely.
have listeners listening to us right now. And I want you to talk to those listeners who might be at the same place you were when God said to do the impossible. What kind of encouragement would you give them specifically about doing what God asked them to do? Because how has it turned out for you? Has it been a good thing? Has it, just a little bit along those lines?
Well, I'll talk to you about how to get it done, or at least how it worked for me on how to get it done. Just do it. That's it, plain and simple. The work was a mountain to me. It may not have been much to you. You might like writing, you might like typing, you might like reading and all the rest of that. But when I was looking at this was an insurmountable mountain. I didn't have the right equipment or gear, and I'm being asked to climb up Mount Fuji. And I've never had climbing experience. So how can you be asking me to do this? However, you take it one step at a time. You start climbing one rock at a time, one piece at a time, and eventually you'll get to the point where you've completed or gotten to a point near completion to where you can see, oh, I see what's going on here, God. But the thing with God is you just have to be obedient in the area that he's telling you to be obedient in. Give it your time, give it your effort, and just keep moving forward. It doesn't matter if you think you can do it or if you think you can't. That part doesn't matter so long as you're willing to keep moving because it's on God to grant you success. So that's what I depended on as I was writing, as I was editing, as I was doing every single part of it, including having to put my own finances into this thing to make this thing come to life. It was all God, I'm putting these steps together for you. I need you to show up for me. I need you to show it and make it and do it. And I'll tell you, like I said, I love the product that was created. I love the stories. I love how it shows the way it literally shows the way that God treats us, but somehow uses something as silly as superheroes and powers to do it. You will see your own life in the book. You will see what you're actually going through in the things that he's going through. And then you will see how God does this transformation that you just weren't expecting.
I love it.
Sometimes things go so far awry while you're following God, like you're doing what he said to do. Now, all of a sudden, you've got this problem, and it's based on the fact that you're doing what he told you to do. Like, God, why did you tell me to do this? I could have been without this problem had I not have done it. But then as he turns it around and makes everything work together, you see exactly why he did what he did. And he just shows that he's God. And the book expresses that so well. So if you're listening and you have a call, it doesn't matter how big. Let's say he told you to start a church. You don't have money to buy a church building or rent a space. You don't have money for blah, blah, blah. You don't have the time to do this or the time to do that. Just get started. Start working on what you can, the pieces that you can, and eventually you'll have enough pieces to put together something where you can see, hey, well, maybe this can be done.
That was wonderful. Now, tell them the different names of the different books. How many is it?
There are 4 books. Believe it or not, I wrote it all as one huge book. I thought I was going to be the next Harry Potter guy. It is one huge book, but then God, at the end of it, told me now separate that into 4 different books. So the 4 books are Jesus Freak, The Reluctant Hero. That's book 1, where we get to see him first of all getting that new calling and trying to come up with an outfit and a name and trying to figure out how to tell his wife Whether he tells her or not, we don't know until you read the book. But he's trying to get his confidant, his pastor friend, to understand that this is the calling that he has. Can you imagine being a pastor and somebody comes and tells you they're going to be a superhero? That has to be one weird counseling session. I mean, it really does have to be that way. So that's book one. Then you got book two, Greater is the Power. And somehow the books increase the danger. So in book one, he's going up against gangsters, thugs, and people who commit burglaries and robberies. In book two, this is where he steps into a slightly bigger stage. And that's kind of how God takes us. We master one stage and he moves us forward. This is the first time he's going to go up against superpowered individuals. And he has to figure out what to do against these superpowered individuals. And then we go to book three, which, by the way, book two, I really like the superpowers of some of those people that we have right there that he has to go up against. So that's just me putting in my plug. But book three is my favorite book. Book three, he actually has to what can I say without spoiling this? Let's just say he actually goes into some spiritual stuff as well, to where he may be facing a supernatural enemy as well. You know how the enemy tries to come against us in different ways. So he has to face a supernatural enemy as well as team up with someone who does not believe what he believes and actually is antagonistic towards what he believes. And that is my favorite team up ever because there's a guy. His name is in the book. He's going to be the Shield. That one is called Jesus Freak versus the Shield. And so they're together, they're trying to get things done, but the whole time, this guy is ragging on him about believing in God and trying to prove to him that God doesn't exist, which is actually counterproductive to what they're trying to do in the book. But you'd understand that after you read that book. That's book three, my favorite book. I love that interaction right there. Also, book four, and that would be, I believe, your favorite book, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Book four takes it to a whole nother level. His skill has increased to the point where he's actually being recognized by agencies outside of his city, to like world government alliance type agencies and such. And he has to go into a facility to try and find somebody he's been trying to find since book one, pretty much. And it was a traveling story. It continued forward. And the things he experiences and the way God gets him to the goal that he's been trying to meet this whole time, it, it just all adds up in a culmination and makes things all so clear. Not only that, he's also been fighting against a certain faction or gang the entire time. And in that book, that also gets wrapped up.
That is so wonderful. That series. Now, listen, I thought I thought it would be good. This is my thinking now, that it would be good for young people because they like reading stuff like Treasure Island and Huckleberry Finns and and all that stuff. So I always thought that that would be good. But then I talk to you and I find out that you have set this thing up so that it can reach young people. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Are we talking about the homeschooling aspect
Yeah,
of it, possibly?
yeah, yeah.
I'm currently in the works of homeschool manuals for the book. Once again, it teaches a lot about life. There's a lot of good literary working inside of it. So, no matter which at it, if you want to look at it from the spiritual side, it's a, if you want to look at it from the actual literary side, it's a good book. At it from educational advice and themes such as morality and character and faith, obedience, all those type of things, it's a good book, no matter which way you look at it. So I've developed a set of tools. I have a study guide for the young folks, and I'm targeting, I think, grades 5 through 9, pretty much for the homeschooling. I'm sure anybody can use it, but it takes you through the story. As you read a chapter, you'll be able to go back to the study guide and read through what it's talking about for the influences, do some vocabulary words, I'm sorry, do some fill in the blank type stuff, ask you some questions about concepts and such. And as the teacher, the person that's actually teaching it, there's a teacher's guide, which gives you the answers that you're looking for from your student as they're answering those questions. And there's a little test booklet inside of the teacher's guide that you can print off a test and give it to them so you can test their knowledge and make sure that they actually did read the chapter.
That's
And that's
so
for all
wonderful.
four books.
Okay, so let's do this because my time is not going to last very long. how do they get in touch with you? I mean, I'd like for you to give a plug, first of all, for your comedy show. Give a plug for that. Tell people about that. Second, tell them how to get your book.
Okay.
You have a Jesus freak community, don't you?
Uh, on Facebook, there's a Jesus Freak community. I'll
Yes.
start where you told me to start. The Tatum Christian Variety Show, as she mentioned earlier, was it's on the CWC radio digital radio network, and that is an app that you can download. Um, Not sure how to give you that address. What's that address? I think you know that one since your show's on it, right?
Yeah, that's cwcradio.com.
There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. So we have that one right there, and it airs 4 p.m. every Saturday. So if you're not doing anything, join us. We're going to have fun together. You're going to answer some trivia questions. You're going to listen to some comedy. I have people from the Bible giving stand-up comedy. I have voicemails from people from the Bible asking for various things and talking about their experience. I have people doing Christian apologetics, just not the right way. All kinds of wonderful things that we can laugh and have fun about. Nothing is irreverent to God whatsoever. It's just us having fun. And then there's a lesson or an interview for like 10 minutes during the show. So you get a little bit of word, you get a little bit of fun, and then you get to see at the very end of the show whether you answered the trivia correct. And it's good to wait around to see whether or not you got that answer correct. Also, to get in contact with me, I have a website. It's www.officialjesusfreak.com. It's www.officialjesusfreak.com. That will kind of link you up with some of the stuff that I have on Facebook, as well as show you all the books. And my books are sold on Amazon. And that website has the links to Amazon to get to me. Because for some reason, Amazon does not pull up my book when you type in Jesus Freak. It does not pull up my books. It pulls up a million other things before you actually scroll down and get to my books. So the easiest way to do it will be to go to www.officialjesusfreak.com. And then that will take you directly to the links for Amazon. And you can read a little bit of synopsis for each book. Each book has its own synopsis. That's basically what's on the back cover. And, you can interact from there. You can also contact me there. There's a place where you can subscribe to that newsletter. So when I'm coming out with new books, new information, you'll be the first to get it and things like that. So yeah, the website's the best way to get in contact with me.
Sounds good. Now, I only have a few minutes left, so I'd like for you to put on your pastor's hat now. And I'd like for you to pray for our audience to do what it is that God is calling them to do. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
How long are we talking?
Just let it flow. I think I got about 4 minutes.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Well, let us come together. Father God, we just thank you and praise you for everything that you have done. You've done great things in our lives. You've done great things for us and great things with us, things that we never could have imagined doing ourselves or having done ourselves. You bring us through it. You bring us to it. And we appreciate you, Father, for your word being constant and being real. No matter what we go through, your word is right there saying that you can make us stand. We're your servant, and you can make us stand even in times where we don't have confidence in ourselves. We can have confidence in you having confidence in us. We
Yes.
can do it because you say we can do it, not because of our own strength, not because of our own power or might, but because you say so. God, we're asking you right now to help us. Just like that man asked you to help his unbelief, we're asking you to help our unbelief. You know the areas that we have that hinder us from going forth and doing the thing that you want us to do.
Yes.
You know all the problems that we present to ourselves, all the alternatives to doing it your way that are out there. Help us, Lord. Help us to lock in and focus on you. Help us to lock in and do the thing that you've determined that we need to do. Help us to be the people that you want us to be. We have a vision of what we think we should be, but God, line us up with you. Line us up with your word. Line us up with your will for our lives. We're asking this in your darling son, Jesus' name, and keep us covered, Father. Bring us success. Show forth your glory. Show forth that you are God through
Yes.
us. In Jesus' name we do pray.
Yes. Thank you much. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. I know you're going to
Been
bless
a
a lot
pleasure.
of lives. I know. I just enjoy you so much.
I thank you
And
for
to
the
the
opportunity.
listeners, I think it'd be a good idea to check out your Jesus Freak webpage there. All
Come on
right,
down.
all right. Until I see you again, remember you matter. You're not alone. Jesus loves you, and I do too. Have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you for spending this time with us on Oh to be Touched by Grace. As we come to a close, remember this. Grace meets us right where we are. Healing is not a weakness, faith is not denial, and your story still has purpose. Until next time, walk gently, stay encouraged, and know that grace is always within reach.